So this is the point where I'll turn to an example from life. My daughter Isabella, we call her Bella, was born in 1995. And when she was about 5 months old, Nancy and I were both looking at her in the crib, and I can still visualize this. She was laying on her back, looking up at both of us out of the crib, and was just kind of babbling and gaggling like babies do, playing with her mouth. And this is one of the things that's natural for human babies to do, and it's natural for other mammal babies to do, is to make noises that are natural for their vocal apparatus to make. So that's one of the toys that a baby has, is the vocal apparatus. They love to play with it. So she's playing around with blowing and cooing and gurgling and so on, and by accident she happens to go like this. And Nancy and I are both looking into the crib, and we're both amazed. We think our baby can whistle, and so we both look down into the crib and mimic her action. We immediately go, and then she, in turn, gets a huge saucer plate eyes look on her face, is so excited, and she immediately, back in turn to us, goes over and over again. And from that moment on, 5 months on, our daughter Bella knew how to whistle just like that. And think about the interaction there. She's doing things just sort of randomly, like babies will do naturally, and we, in the midst of all of this blur of stuff that's going on, hear something that we want to respond to. And because we respond to it, we show her that our position and her position are reasonably similar. She responds back in kind. She's actually able to capture that thing that she just did and recreate it, which means that she objectified it. She was making random stuff. One of the things that she did got a reaction from the caregiver, and that helped her realize she had achieved intersubjectivity. The desire to gain intersubjectivity is, according to many developmental psychologists, a natural tendency in children. So intersubjectivity, objectivity, and subjectivity should be key assessment categories for us. Usually we can tell a lot about a language situation and a child's language competence just by going back to the questions of position, that's subjectivity, of focus, which is the objectivity, and of intersubjectivity, which is coordination among two different subjects. So we can find and tell a lot about language competence by just going back to those most basic areas, and that's psychology. It's not necessarily language. So for a real-life example, my son Alma is just shy of 11 years old. He'll be 11 in June, and he has autism and he has Down syndrome, and his speech is very limited. He has a few approximate words that he can say and some signs that go along with those words. But in general, what we notice about children like Alma is that although they may seek out social interaction, it's a fairly strong characteristic of severe autism that children do not seek out social interaction, that the desire for intersubjectivity does not appear. It doesn't present itself the way it does with other children. And that's not typical, that's not normal. So some of the most successful programs for teaching autistic children to speak move away from intersubjectivity and actually use just other stimulus response reinforcement, other motivators to get the child to be able to speak, such as food or toys or videos. And that's what we've done with my son. I wouldn't say that it's severe autism, because he actually does try to reach out and interact with us in a number of different ways. But the key difference is that the little sounds and things that he can do with his mouth, he does not naturally try to use those to engage us all the time. He's had to learn how to do that through instruction. It's actually through direct instruction that we've been able to get there. And there's some developmental programs as well that help you to engage a child in intersubjectivity. So the disabilities that we look at that seem to be about language and language skill often go right back to intersubjectivity and whether or not the child has a drive to use sounds to get somebody else coordinated with them. So Colin Trevarthen did some research on these infant intersubjectivity as a natural drive and found that the infants who see live video of their mothers, where their mothers are able to interact with them through cameras both ways, that infants actually show responsive behavior when they're on a live video feed to their parents. The same experiment, they piped recorded video feed from the mother to the baby, and the babies became distressed or unresponsive, and what they found was that babies are tuned in to the little nuances, movements, eye gestures, body position, other things that the mother is doing to try to show the baby that she is coordinated with the baby. And being coordinated with the baby is that intersubjectivity. The baby wants that. And what we've found is that that is an extremely powerful reinforcer throughout life, that people like to know that they have intersubjectivity, that they have somebody else positioned so that they can communicate with them. So getting someone else positioned is the key thing in intersubjectivity. Now, that has great implications for all of our instruction, but also especially for literacy and language instruction. So a good amount of our success and failure as teachers depends on whether or not we've actually achieved intersubjectivity, whether we have gotten other people coordinated with us and whether they have gotten us coordinated with them. It needs to go both ways. And oftentimes in classroom situations, as teachers, we get an idea of what we want to do or how a routine is supposed to go, and we act that out as if the kids already understand what we understand. And most of our failures can probably be attributed to us not being on the same page that way. We think we're coordinated because we've planned well, because we have content knowledge, because the activity is organized well. But if the kids don't get where we're trying to go with it, it doesn't make any difference how well planned things are. This plays out for reading is in kids' sense of purpose for what reading is. If kids grow up in a home where reading happens all of the time, then they're going to think, as a matter of course, that reading is one of the things that we do. It'll be part of the furniture of life. There are all sorts of things around us that would seem strange to someone from another planet or a culture that didn't live like we do. We do things every day. We wash clothes. We use running water. We drive in cars. We go in and out of doors. We have all of these different types of buildings around us. And we have printed material. It's just part of the big, broad furniture of everyday life. And people who use printed material in the home help their kids realize, yes, this is one of the things that we do. And that object of a printed piece of paper, a book, is something that an adult has to teach a child, or a peer has to teach the child, yes, this is something that you should focus on. And moments when parents and children actually gain intersubjectivity around a book are pretty remarkable, because you have this object that's very abstract, little printed marks on a flat page that an adult treats as if it were a meaningful simulation of life. The stories and information can come from this printed material. All of the smaller level skills that happen along with reading are likely to stem from this intersubjectivity around print. But the small level skills themselves also emerge, just like my daughter learning to whistle, through moments of intersubjectivity, where kids realize they are coordinated with someone else. And so as we proceed, literacy and language both emerge from intersubjectivity.